The subject of commander damage can be a contentious one. Some players feel it's a frustrating or arbitrary way to lose a game they would have otherwise won. Others feel it is an outdated adornment that persists only for flavor reasons, that it unfairly benefits certain commanders over others, or even just that it's too tedious to track to be worth whatever value it might bring to the game. Commander damage is not just a worthwhile facet of the format, but a necessary one. I feel there are many reasons why removing commander damage from the rulebook would make the game noticeably worse, and I believe players who advocate against commander damage aren't giving enough weight to the arguments in favor of it. It's possible some of these players haven't even considered all the implications of removing access to commander damage kills. And thus, in this video, I will explain why commander damage is so important to the health of the commander format. I will talk about where the rule initially came from, why it is still relevant today, and why I believe the arguments against the commander damage rule are misguided. No, commander damage should not be done away with, and yes, I would like to argue why. And I would also like to talk about something else that needs to be done away with. A bad night's sleep. Be honest with me, you're exhausted all the time, aren't you? Lack of sleep is a legitimate crisis right now, and while all of us have different bodies and different lives, one universal truth is this: you are not going to get a good night's sleep on a bad mattress, so it's time to maybe upgrade to a good one, and that's why I'm so glad to present sponsor of today's video, Helix Sleep, maker of the best mattresses around and delivered right to your door. Helix mattresses are ordered online and delivered right to your door, taking all the stress out of the mattress buying process and the stress out of your night's sleep. Helix's sleep quiz matches you to the perfect mattress based on your body type and sleep preferences. This means you don't have to worry about the mattress buying process. It's simple, it's easy, and you can rest assured that if you need to, you've got seamless returns and exchanges through Helix. That's because Helix offers a 120-night sleep trial to test out the mattress and make sure that you love it. And on top of all of that, Helix mattresses come with a limited lifetime warranty. And it may not just be your mattress you need to upgrade. What about your pillow as well? Well, check out these new Comfort Adjust pillows from Helix. The Helix Custom Adjust pillow can be customized and adjusted to your preferred firmness and height. This is just great if you end up waking up with neck pain because maybe it's your pillow, and you can sleep cool all night with the Helix Glaciotex heat conductive fabric. So yeah, invest in a durable pillow that uses premium memory foam, which keeps its shape and feel over time. Best of all, if you go to helixsleep.com/Tolarian now or just scan the QR code, you can take advantage of Helix's 4th of July sale exclusive partner offer and get 27% off. That's right, 27% off right now. Just go to this link, follow the link in the description, the QR code, and a better night's sleep is just a Helix away. Thank you, Helix, for sponsoring this video. Commander damage, as a rule, is tied to the very origins of the format itself. Long before Wizards of the Coast started supporting it in 2011 and rebranded it under the name of Commander, the format was primarily known by its original name, EDH, short for Elder Dragon Highlander. EDH is still commonly used as a name for the format today, of course, but it's been long enough since the format's inception that many players might not think about where the acronym came from. In the late 1990s, before Sheldon Menery had gotten involved and turned the format into what we play to this day, a player in Alaska by the name of Adam Staley often played a custom singleton format he called Elder Dragon Highlander. In Adam's version, decks could only be led by one of the 5 original Elder Dragons from Legends: Chromium, Nicol Bolas, Arcades Sabbath, Palladium Ors, and Vivictus Asmati. Again, this was before Sheldon developed the format into what we know it as today. And back then, this version of the game was played with a total of 200 life, divided evenly among the number of players at the table. That meant in a 1v1 game, players began with 100 life. If the thought of slogging through a 100 starting life game makes you feel queasy, you can understand why Adam's playgroup also included an alternate kill condition, what we now call the Commander Damage Rule. This rule was that the amount of damage that a player's dragon of choice needed to deal to a player to eliminate them immediately from the game was 21, equivalent to 3 hits from any of the 5 7/7 Elder Dragons. In 2003, Sheldon began designing his own version of this format. Throughout the process, he kept the original 21 damage kill rule, even as he made other changes like expanding the list of legal generals to the entire pool of existing legendary creatures and unrestricting basic lands to allow players to run duplicates of them. His most important change came about a year into his playtesting. In 2004, after the inaugural EDH event, the EDH Challenge held at Worlds 2004, Sheldon identified a major issue regarding the format's inherent variance. Players kept playing games where they never cast their generals. To fix this, he instituted a rule that generals would start the game in their own special zone, from which they could be cast. Yes, back when Adam's group was playing that early version of what became the Commander format, players were actually shuffling their Elder Dragons into their decks. This meant they were no more likely to find their deck's signature card than they were any of their other 99 cards. Though this sounds crazy now, it makes sense. With no precedent for outside zones, where else would the general live if not in the deck itself? Even Sheldon himself was working on the format for a year before he added what we now call the command zone. All this is to say that the commander damage rule literally predates the command zone by more than half a decade if you count Adam's version. This is not to say that the rule is untouchable. There's no tenet of game design that says you aren't allowed to change early rules. In fact, some might argue that early rules should be especially subject to scrutiny as the context around them changes throughout the game's development, especially in what's meant to be a community-led format such as Commander. I merely use this point to illustrate just how stitched into the fabric of the format Commander damage is. And yes, while it should always be possible to re-examine old rules, I think there is good enough reason to leave this one embedded in the identity of EDH. The existence of the commander damage rule provides a meaningful benefit to the format in multiple ways. For one thing, the kill condition single-handedly enables a subset of otherwise underpowered archetypes while simultaneously keeping a few overpowered ones in check. For another, the rule prevents board stalls from dragging games beyond their expiration dates, while also giving players who have fallen behind early a chance to take out an opponent who's built an overwhelming advantage. And perhaps most importantly, as card design tends to push the power level of the format higher and higher, Commander damage helps ensure that Commander remains about Commanders. Let's talk about each one of these at a time. Without Commander damage, the Voltron archetype would go extinct. Not just Voltron, any deck that hinges on their commander attacking would become woefully underpowered. It is simply unrealistic to hope that a single creature will manage to deal 40 damage to a single player, let alone 120 damage to 3 players, regardless of how many pants it's wearing. But a single creature dealing 21 damage to a player, that is a lot more reasonable. Voltron is one of the most popular strategies in Commander, with well over 50,000 different decks on EDH Rec. If you combine Voltron's deck share with the equipment and auras archetypes, which are often functionally Voltron decks as well, it's the third most popular archetype on EDH Rec, with over 150,000 decks. There are so many different ways to pull off a Voltron win across all 5 colors of Magic. Without commander damage, the only way to do it is with Infect. And do you really want to see more Infect at your tables? Now, I know I might have a bit of a personal bias towards Voltron. Oh, Thrun, what are you gonna do about him? Nothing! But it is an objective fact that the existence of that archetype makes the format more diverse. And that's a good thing, because Voltron is not just a faucet of Commander, it's an essential strategy in the game of Magic itself. Ever since the beloved Shivan Dragon way back in Alpha, players have loved making a single, hard-to-block guy big so that they can bonk their opponents with it. Every format has its version of this kind of deck. In Standard, it's the Might Form Harmonizer Landfall deck. In Modern, both Hammer Time and Infect have been popular decks at one point or another, and even many versions of Amulet Titan throughout the format's history were built around turning a single Primeval Titan into a hasty 8-power double striker. Even in Legacy, you could argue that Dark Depths combo is a kind of Voltron deck. Commander already has its challenges with the way its rule set warps the game of Magic into something that, in many ways, doesn't resemble any other variation in Magic. The existence of Commander damage ensures that one long-standing pillar of the game remains relevant in the game's most popular format. This is especially valuable because Voltron is one of the most viable aggro archetypes in the format. Many aggro decks unsurprisingly struggle to deal 120 damage before their opponents stabilize. Commander damage provides a way to force through a kill anyway, and thus makes Voltron a favorite strategy among players drawn to aggressive game plans. On the other end of things, Commander damage is an important safety valve for other kinds of decks. If aggro is inherently a lot weaker in Commander than in other formats, life gain as a strategy is much, much stronger. The vast majority of life gain cards throughout Magic's history were balanced with 20 life 1v1 formats in mind. Therefore, the design choices that made sense for those formats don't always translate in a healthy way to Commander. Soul Warden, for example, gains you life when any creature enters play, not just your own. In a 1v1 game, that can be powerful, but in a 4-player format chock full of go-wide strategies, it is positively obscene. Similarly, cards like Serra Ascendant, Felidar Sovereign, or Aetherflux Reservoir all receive massive buffs when you start at 40 life instead of 20. And this doesn't even touch on the many different infinite life combos that exist in Magic. All of this is to say, life gain is one of the single strongest strategies in all of Commander, except that it doesn't matter how much life you gain. You could gain 1 billion life and still die to an unblockable guy with a very big stick. Commander damage is the Death Star exhaust port, or throwing the ring into Mount Doom type Achilles heel that ensures life gain decks are merely powerful rather than totally broken. But life gain isn't the only overpowered strategy brought down a peg or two by the existence of Commander damage. Stacks decks, for instance, can grind games to a halt. Cards like Propaganda, Sphere of Safety, or Miri Weatherlight Duelist effectively grind creature combat down to a snail's pace. Commander damage ensures that the player hiding behind these pillow fort cards isn't entirely invulnerable. One more strategy that makes me thankful for Commander damage isn't precisely weak to it, but rather it doesn't benefit from it in the slightest. That's any deck built around an engine commander. I'm talking about the Muldrothas, the Emrys, the Hashatons. These decks rarely want to risk their commanders in combat. Instead, the value their generals generate are their entire utility. Engine commanders are exceptionally powerful. They're basically an entire game plan in a can. Given how hard it is to kill through combat damage alone in Commander, these decks opt instead to focus on accruing extra cards, mana, or both in order to build an overwhelming and unassailable advantage. Without the existence of Commander damage, there would really be very little incentive to attack with your Commander at all, like almost ever. Most decks are so reliant on keeping their commanders in play that the prospect of sending them into the trenches has legitimate risk. I mean, why would anyone want to do that unless there was a specific reason that attacking with a commander is good? So without commander damage, building a deck around a commander that's best used for attacking would be foolish if you were at all interested in winning. The commander damage rule ensures that engine commanders do not solely define the format. These options are certainly still powerful, but there are many other popular commanders that do like to get their hands dirty, and that's important for format diversity and therefore health. Regardless of which commanders players bring to the table, it is not uncommon for games to stall out into miserable stalemates. This is when every player has amassed a board so wide that it's impossible to swing at any other player without both losing their whole army in combat and exposing themselves to devastating counter swings. In circumstances like this, commander damage is a godsend. All of a sudden, a single rogue's passage or key to the city can bring an otherwise endless game to a merciful conclusion. Sometimes, though, the reverse is true. We've all played commander games where one player pulls out so far ahead that the rest of the table is left choking on their dust. Sure, one solution to that is to let that player finish the job so you can all shuffle up and play a new game, but that is a quitter's mentality. Personally, I think it's exciting to give the other players at the table a tiny glimmer of hope that they can chop down a Goliath before they strike their killing blow. Personally, I believe the most important argument in favor of commander damage has less to do with commanders themselves and more to do with just how powerful Cards for the 99 have become. Wizards of the Coast has been directly supporting the commander format for 15 years now, and in that time, they have introduced countless cards of what feels like an ever-increasing power level. The Thassa's Oracle and Underworld Breach combos, for instance, were both gifted to us from the 2020 set Theros Beyond Death. Orcish Bowmasters, Jeska's Will, Smothering Tithe, not to mention cards like Black Market Connections, The Great Henge. These cards all entered the commander card pool and immediately established themselves as best-in-class auto-includes in their respective decks. And they joined older cards for the 99 that were already arguably more powerful than any single commander. Rhystic Study, Doubling Season, Phyrexian Altar, Skull Clamp. Given the sheer power level of even the average Bracket 3 Commander Dex 99, the actual commander you run could easily become an afterthought. For some players, it already is an afterthought. They want to build a 5-color deck, so screw it, let's just throw Kenrith at the helm. They want a generic value commander, so they run Kefka, Court Mage, or Glarb, Calamity's Augur. Or they do what many in CEDH do. Literally just choose their commanders based on the combos, interaction, and protection they want access to. Now, I'm not out here saying that commander damage is relevant in CEDH, but CEDH is merely an intensification of what's also been happening at lower brackets. It combines all of the recent trends surrounding power creep and auto-includes for the 99 into decks that often never intend to cast their commander. But these trends still have an effect at weaker tables. Increasingly, a deck's commander is merely the glue holding together a strategy that intends to win through some other means. While there's nothing wrong with a deck doing this, the trend toward the vast majority of decks doing this means the format has strayed far from its roots of hitting your opponents 3 times with an Elder Dragon. It's making EDH less and less EDH. When the Eminence commanders were spoiled, it did not take long for many Magic the Gathering players to turn on them. Why? Because the mechanic encouraged players to never cast their commanders. It fundamentally pushed the format away from its initial essential nature. The tactical space that remains carved out by commander damage alone is truly the last bastion for players who love to build a deck around a sweet commander and then turn that commander sideways. And whether or not you personally are one of those players, surely you can see why it matters to keep those players around. That's just classic honest Magic the Gathering as Richard Garfield intended. Even setting aside all these points in favor of commander, the one thing I feel above all else is this: if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I don't see any compelling reason why commander would be better off without the commander damage rule, and that's not because I haven't heard the arguments. Over the years that I've been playing Commander, I have seen many people argue against Commander damage. It's one of the format's most perennial topics of discussion, which is why I'm even making this video in the first place. But considering how often the repeal of Commander damage gets brought up, the arguments are always the same, and there aren't even that many of them. Opponents of the commander damage rule tend to argue some combination of these points. It's too complicated to track. It rarely comes up. It's awkward with partner commanders. It's too significant of a weakness for life gain. And most of all, that the rule is outdated, and Magic's most played format should not cling to a rule solely to give a cheeky nod to 5 essentially unplayable archaic commanders. The first of these arguments is that it's too complicated to track commander damage, and I've never found that particularly convincing. Many, I'd even say the vast majority of Magic the Gathering players own way more spin downs than they can reasonably make use of. You get spin downs everywhere. They're in your pre-release kits, they're in your bundles, you probably got a million spin downs in your home, and guess what? A spin down tracks commander damage perfectly. You count each commander's total up to 20, and if you ever take more commander damage than you have sides on the die to count on, well, then you're dead. What's more, of all the various aspects of Commander that are complicated to track, Commander damage is one of the least egregious examples. Tokens, counters, triggers, all of these elements are far more taxing than ticking up a spin down when you get hit with a Commander. I mean, come on, Commander is a complicated game. It's part and parcel of signing up to play it. It's certainly true that Commander damage wins happen rarely, but that's not a point against it as a win condition. Decking happens rarely too, and yet no one ever argues that you shouldn't lose the game if you draw from an empty library. Including additional uncommon ways to win besides dropping an opponent's life total to 0 is part of what makes Magic such a dynamic game. The argument I am most sympathetic to is that Commander damage is awkward with partner commanders. It's a little bit annoying to keep track of commander damage from 2 different commanders on the same side of the field. But given that this rule is the mechanical depiction of a heroic general taking down a mighty threat single-handedly, of course partners track commander damage separately. And besides, it's rare for both partners to be gunning for commander damage kills anyway. More often than not, one of the 2 partner commanders is providing support for the other's commander damage kill, or neither partner cares much about the rule. As for life gain, I believe I've demonstrated why the archetype is powerful enough to warrant a baked-in weakness in the format's rule set. Not that commander damage is specifically targeting life gain. It's merely a happy byproduct of a rule that already should exist for its own merits. Infinite life especially needs a weakness. Technically, you could still beat an infinite life player without infect or a combo kill of your own if you're able to navigate the game to deck that player. But who in their right mind wants to play a 4-player game where the only out available to 3 of the players is to manually fight through the 4th player's 99-card deck? If you want to build a deck that gains infinite life, good for you. You still need to find another way to win. Literally, just put an Aetherflux reservoir into your deck like a responsible adult. Lastly, I want to speak to the notion that commander damage is outdated. I really don't feel like that is the case. Commander damage is commander just as much as 100 card singleton, color restriction, and a legendary general are also each commander. It is no less load-bearing than any of these other, less controversial rules. Commander was literally designed with the belief that restriction breeds creativity. Both Sheldon and even Adam before him strongly felt that Magic deck building is at its best when you have to operate within real parameters. That is why you are only allowed to play with 1 of each card. That is why you can't run off-color cards in your deck. And maybe that's why you should probably not be able to run a vehicle or a station as your commander, but sorry, that's another video. The existence of commander damage is a parameter. It adds a texture and dimension to the game that you shouldn't be able to ignore, from deck building all the way to the last turn of a game. Without commander damage, the format isn't Elder Dragon Highlander. It's not even really Commander. But that, of course, is just my opinion, and like all of my opinions, it is a strong one, but now I want to hear from you. Do you think commander damage should be done away with, or do you think that it is important to the fabric of the game itself? Let me know in the comments below, and if you'd like to see me take your commander decks and try and fix them up, we've done yet another in our series of I Fix Your Commander Deck, which you can, of watch by clicking it's like an eye right there on your screen, or just, of course, linked in this video's description, or maybe you just want to see me play Commander. Well, you can on the most recent episode of Shuffle Up and Play, where Covert Go Blue and myself actually invited not one, but 2 Hearthstone streamers to come play a game of Commander. See what Rarand and Vozy think of the Commander format on the newest episode of Shuffle Up and Play.
Next time on Shuffle Up and Play, I can't wait to see what happens.
We Hearthstone now because I've invited not 1, but 2 famous Hearthstone streamers here today.
I'm gonna kick you in the shin.
Because I like you guys all so much, I'm gonna play Esper Sentinel. You want me to read it?
Are you
Urza.
kidding me?
Great. I'm gonna go ahead
and pay the 1?
TGB, it's turn 1. Can you
Tezzeret.
relax?
Tap for 3 to play Byraxian Unlife.
It's a miracle! Improvisation capstone.
Just let me know when I can kill you.
And that kid is called gentle parenting. I hit you once.
Listen, hit me again.
Relax, okay?
Hit me again.
You can't just ask that, okay? That could cost money.